Imagine having more money than your parents ever dreamed of and still realizing you're spending it wrong. Not because you're careless, not because you're irresponsible, but because no one ever taught you how to use money to buy what actually matters. This is the uncomfortable truth at the heart of Endowed by Vivian Tu. This is not a book about hustling harder, investing faster, or flexing your net worth. It's about value, about using money to buy time, security, and freedom, instead of stress, regret, and comparison. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through every chapter of this book and unpack how money decisions shape your entire life, from the way you shop, to how you love, to what you leave behind. Vivian Tu opens the book with a deeply personal story from childhood. As a 5th grader, she landed a speaking role in her school play, Annie. While other kids' parents showed up with flowers and camcorders, her immigrant parents were working. They waited outside in the car to pick her up. That moment stayed with her, not as resentment, but as a lesson about what money buys and what it can't. Years later, as a successful adult, Vivian gifted her parents an extravagant luxury vacation. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, Michelin-star meals. But when they visited her afterward, she caught herself doing the same thing her parents once did, opening her laptop to work instead of spending time with them. That's when the realization hit. She knew the price of everything, but the value of nothing. This book exists to solve that problem. Not just how to earn money, but how to spend it strategically so it builds stability, security, and time with the people you love. Part 1. Optimizing for Value. Chapter 1. De-influencing your brain. Vivian Tu opens this chapter with a deceptively simple childhood memory, going to Chinese buffets with her parents. What looked like a casual family outing was, in reality, a masterclass in value optimization. Her parents had rules. No carbs first. No filling up on cheap noodles or fried rice placed conveniently at the front. Instead, they waited patiently by the seafood station for shrimp, crab, lobster, and fish, the most expensive items on offer. Only after extracting maximum value were carbohydrates allowed. As a child, Vivian found these rules annoying. As an adult, she realizes they shaped her entire worldview around money. Her parents were not being restrictive for the sake of control. They were teaching her, without words, the difference between price and value. The buffet cost the same no matter what you ate, but the outcome depended entirely on strategy. Most people, Vivian argues, were never taught this distinction. We know how much things cost, but not whether they are worth it. And when that internal compass is missing, corporations and advertisers are more than happy to fill the gap. This is not accidental. It is the result of more than a century of carefully engineered consumer culture. She walks the reader through the rise of consumerism, beginning with the Industrial Revolution, when mass production made goods cheaper and more abundant. Shopping shifted from necessity to leisure. Department stores transformed buying into an experience. Installment plans and early credit systems allowed people to buy before they had earned. After World War II, pent-up demand exploded into suburban expansion, appliances, cars, and status-driven consumption. Television brought advertising directly into living rooms. Credit cards removed friction entirely. Over time, buying became easier, faster, and more emotionally loaded. Modern advertising is no longer about explaining what a product does. It is about creating a feeling of lack. Vivian explains the psychological tools advertisers use to do this. Emotional appeal ties products to happiness, belonging, nostalgia, or fear. Beauty standards convince people that buying one more product will finally make them attractive or confident. Gender norms are manufactured to sell more goods, from engagement rings to razors. Social proof uses reviews, influencers, and fake urgency to signal that everyone else is buying this, so you should too. Anchoring bias and the decoy effect manipulate pricing so that one option appears reasonable only in comparison to worse ones. Reciprocity makes people feel obligated to buy after receiving a sample or discount. Gamification turns spending into a game of points, tiers, and rewards, disconnecting money from reality. Diversity messaging appeals to identity and values, often without meaningful action behind it. And finally, hypertargeting uses vast amounts of personal data to follow consumers across the internet, nudging them repeatedly until resistance wears down. Social media supercharges all of this. Comparison is no longer local, it is global. People compare their ordinary lives to curated highlight reels. Influencers monetize aspiration through affiliate links, blurring the line between recommendation and advertisement. What looks like inspiration is often a sales funnel. Vivian makes an important point. Falling for these tactics is not a personal failure. Even she, with first-hand experience in advertising, still does. The system is designed to work. The solution is not abstinence from spending, but awareness. The chapter ends with self-reflection. What are you really trying to buy when you spend money? What insecurity or childhood lack might be driving your habits? And most importantly, how are you using money to buy time, the only resource you can never replace? Chapter 2. Investing in yourself. This chapter shifts from external influence to internal value. Vivian begins with a story about her parents hiring a lawn care professional for the first time in their lives. For people who had spent decades doing everything themselves to save money, outsourcing felt indulgent. But the reality was simple. Her father's back hurt, and mowing the lawn now came with physical cost. The $50 they spent was not for grass. It was for health, energy, and time. Vivian argues that your body and your time are your most important assets. Without them, money is meaningless. Spending to protect or extend these assets is not frivolous, it is strategic. She tackles the controversial topic of spending on convenience and self-care. Traditional financial advice often shames these choices, especially for younger generations. At the same time, healthcare systems are expensive, preventative care is underutilized, and burnout is widespread. The result is a contradiction. People are criticized whether they spend or don't. Vivian reframes the conversation. Spending money to reduce pain, stress, and exhaustion is often a high-return investment. This includes healthcare, mental health support, fitness, ergonomic improvements, and outsourcing tasks that drain energy without adding value. She breaks down health insurance basics in practical terms: premiums, deductibles, copays, PPOs, HMOs, and high-deductible plans. Many people choose plans based on monthly cost alone, without understanding how often they actually use healthcare. The smartest plan is not the cheapest on paper, but the one aligned with your real needs. Preventive care is emphasized as wealth preservation. Catching problems early saves money, time, and suffering later. Vivian also discusses health savings accounts and how they can function as both medical and long-term financial tools. Beyond healthcare, she explores time optimization. If you can outsource a task that costs you hours of time or physical strain, and redirect that energy toward rest, relationships, or income-generating work, the math often favors spending. The core idea of the chapter is simple. You are the foundation of your financial life. If that foundation is cracked, no amount of money on top will make it stable. Part 2. Building your financial house. Chapter 3. Buying a car. Cars are one of the most emotionally charged financial decisions people make. Vivian explains that cars sit at the intersection of identity, convenience, and marketing. They are sold as freedom, success, and adulthood, not transportation. She breaks down the 3 primary options: leasing, financing, and buying outright. Leasing offers lower monthly payments but no ownership in strict terms. Financing spreads cost over time but includes interest and depreciation. Buying outright avoids interest but ties up capital. Depreciation is the key factor most buyers underestimate. Cars lose value rapidly, especially in the first few years. This makes them fundamentally different from assets that appreciate or generate income. Vivian explains how dealerships profit from confusion. Monthly payment framing, extended warranties, add-ons, and financing tricks obscure the true cost of ownership. Buyers focus on what they can afford per month rather than total cost. The guiding question, she argues, is not what car you want, but what job the car needs to do in your life. Reliability, safety, and affordability usually deliver more long-term value than status or novelty. Chapter 4. Buying a home. Homeownership is often treated as a moral milestone rather than a financial decision. Vivian challenges this narrative head-on. She explains that renting is not throwing money away. It is paying for flexibility, mobility, and reduced responsibility. Buying a home comes with hidden costs: maintenance, taxes, insurance, interest, and opportunity cost. Interest rates and timing matter deeply. Buying at the wrong time or stretching beyond comfort can turn a supposed asset into a source of stress. Vivian reframes housing as a lifestyle choice, not an automatic investment. A home can build wealth, but only under the right conditions. The true question is whether ownership supports your current and future life, not whether it fits a cultural script. Part 3. Growing your family money tree. Chapter 5. Marriage and partnership. Money is one of the most common sources of conflict in long-term relationships. Vivian argues that this is not because money is evil, but because it represents values, priorities, and power. She emphasizes the importance of open financial conversations early. Avoiding money talk does not preserve romance, it postpones conflict. The chapter explores different approaches to managing finances as a couple, from fully joint accounts to fully separate systems, with many hybrids in between. There is no single correct method, only what aligns with shared values and trust. Vivian addresses prenuptial agreements, reframing them as protection rather than pessimism. Prenups clarify expectations and reduce ambiguity, especially when assets, income disparities, or family responsibilities are involved. Love without financial clarity, she warns, often breeds resentment rather than harmony. Chapter 6. Kids. Children are described as priceless, but Vivian insists on honesty. They are also expensive in money, time, and energy. This chapter explores childcare costs, education planning, housing implications, and career trade-offs. Many parents underestimate the long-term financial impact, not because they are careless, but because society avoids honest discussion. Vivian reframes the question from "can we afford kids?" to "what are we willing to trade?" Every choice involves trade-offs, whether it is time, career acceleration, lifestyle flexibility, or financial margin. There is no universal right answer. The goal is alignment between values and decisions, not meeting external expectations. Chapter 7. Family and Friends. Money complicates relationships outside romantic partnerships as well. Lending to family, supporting friends, and navigating unequal financial circumstances can strain even the closest bonds. Vivian distinguishes between lending and gifting, arguing that unclear expectations are the fastest path to resentment. If money given cannot be emotionally written off as a gift, it should not be given at all. Boundaries are framed as acts of respect, not selfishness. Supporting loved ones should not come at the cost of long-term stability or personal well-being. The chapter closes with a reminder. Generosity is powerful, but without strategy, it can quietly undermine the very security it aims to provide. Part 4. Securing your legacy. Chapter 8. Retirement. Vivian Tu begins this chapter by dismantling one of the most persistent myths about retirement, that it is tied to age. Retirement, she argues, is not a birthday. It is a financial state. You are retired when your assets can reliably support your life without requiring your labor. This reframing immediately changes how retirement planning feels. Instead of something distant and abstract, it becomes a measurable goal rooted in freedom and security. Retirement is not about stopping work forever. It is about having the option to stop. It is about buying future flexibility. Vivian emphasizes that retirement planning is fundamentally about time. Every dollar invested today is a tool that purchases time in the future. The earlier those dollars are deployed, the harder they work due to compounding. Waiting does not just delay retirement, it makes it exponentially more expensive. She walks through common retirement vehicles, explaining them in plain language. Employer-sponsored plans like 401k offer tax advantages and, often, employer matching, which is essentially free money. Individual retirement accounts allow for flexibility and long-term tax efficiency. The specific account matters less than the habit of consistent investing. Vivian also addresses a psychological barrier many people face, the feeling that retirement planning is pointless if they are behind. She pushes back firmly against this mindset. There is no such thing as being too late to improve your future. Any step forward increases security. Another major theme of the chapter is lifestyle calibration. Retirement is not about replicating your peak earning years forever. It is about understanding what kind of life you want later and aligning your savings to that reality. Overestimating future needs can cause unnecessary anxiety, while underestimating them can cause harm. Ultimately, retirement planning is framed as an act of self-respect. It is choosing not to burden your future self with unnecessary stress. It is choosing to protect your independence, dignity, and options. Chapter 9. Inheritances and Windfalls. Sudden money changes people, but not in the way most expect. Vivian opens this chapter by explaining that windfalls do not transform habits, they magnify them. Someone who already spends impulsively will likely spend more impulsively. Someone who plans carefully will likely plan better. She urges readers to slow down when unexpected money arrives. The instinct to immediately upgrade lifestyle or make dramatic changes is understandable, but often destructive. The most valuable move after a windfall is pause. Vivian discusses common sources of windfalls, inheritances, legal settlements, business exits, bonuses, and lottery-style events. Each comes with emotional weight, especially inheritances, which are often tied to grief, guilt, or family dynamics. She emphasizes that inherited money is not just financial capital, it is emotional capital. Spending it recklessly can create regret that lasts far longer than the pleasure of the purchase. Practical guidance follows. Vivian recommends separating windfall money mentally and temporarily from everyday finances. This creates space to make intentional decisions rather than reactive ones. She also highlights the importance of understanding tax implications, which can drastically change how much money is actually available. The chapter encourages aligning windfall decisions with long-term values. Whether the money is used to eliminate debt, invest, support family, or fund meaningful experiences, the guiding question should be what creates lasting stability and peace, not short-term excitement. Chapter 10. Insurance. Insurance is one of the least glamorous financial topics, and Vivian acknowledges this up front. But she reframes insurance in a way that strips it of fear and negativity. Insurance is not pessimism. It is love. Insurance exists to protect the people who depend on you from worst-case scenarios. It transfers catastrophic risk away from individuals and into systems designed to absorb it. Vivian walks through the core types of insurance with clarity. Life insurance is about income replacement. If someone relies on your earnings, insurance ensures they are not financially devastated if you are gone. Disability insurance is equally critical and often overlooked, protecting income if illness or injury prevents work. She explains why employer-provided insurance may not be sufficient and why understanding policy terms matters. Cheap coverage that fails in a crisis is worse than no coverage at all. Vivian also touches on health, renters, homeowners, and umbrella insurance, framing each as a layer of defense rather than a sunk cost. The goal is not to insure everything, but to insure against events that would otherwise destroy financial stability. The chapter emphasizes that insurance decisions should be based on responsibility, not fear. Having coverage allows people to take risks in other areas of life with greater confidence. Chapter 11. Estate planning. Estate planning is often associated with extreme wealth, but Vivian dismantles that assumption immediately. Estate planning is not about being rich. It is about being clear. At its core, estate planning answers simple but critical questions. What happens to your assets when you die? Who makes decisions if you cannot? Who is responsible for dependents? Without answers, the state decides. Vivian explains the basic tools of estate planning in accessible terms. A will directs asset distribution. Trusts can provide control, privacy, and efficiency. Medical directives and powers of attorney ensure that decisions reflect your wishes rather than default legal processes. She addresses why people avoid estate planning: discomfort with mortality, procrastination, and the belief that it can wait. Vivian counters that estate planning is one of the greatest gifts you can give your loved ones. It reduces confusion, conflict, and emotional burden during already painful moments. The chapter stresses that estate plans are living documents. They should evolve as life changes. Marriage, children, divorce, assets, and health all require updates. Estate planning, Vivian concludes, is an act of care. It is choosing clarity over chaos and intention over default. It is one final way money can be used to protect time, relationships, and peace for the people you leave behind. Happily ever after. The book ends where it began. Money is not the goal. Time is. Spending strategically means using money to protect your future, your relationships, and the people you love.